Thank you for agreeing to meet with me today. We have a lot to discuss. I'm Tim. I'm a Level 3 researcher here. We know very little about you. Can we start with your name, please?
I'm not going to tell you. You'll just ignore me.
Okay. Now, what year were you born?
Told you. You wouldn't even notice if I punched you in the nose.
Thank you for the year, but do you have an exact date?
I didn't tell you a year. Hey, Doc, watch this.
Oh, I'm sorry. My nose is bleeding. That's strange. I'm not usually prone to random nosebleeds.
You're just like all the rest, Doc? Or Tim, was it? It doesn't matter. He's not going to be important to the story. This is my show, and you're the only one who can really see me. See, he doesn't know it yet, but there's a lot more to me than meets the eye. I'm basically your average Joe Schmo at first glance, but, well, let me tell you some stories. Doc, you can listen to this too, or at least you can try. If you don't already get it, you will soon. Welcome to the front row seat, friend.
Perhaps. Now, would you mind telling me about your anomalous ability? You can't be physically harmed in any way, correct?
Ding ding ding, that's your one correct statement about me so far. I was very young when I realized I was invincible, a term I use loosely because I'm still hoping I can die. I was about 6 or 7, my brother never liked me, and to this day I only have suspicions as to why. Obviously, we've never had an honest conversation about it, and that's just the beginning of my anomalous traits, as you idiots like to call them. Next question.
Thank you, but I don't see how that's relevant.
Dude, I just told you my origin story, more or less. Isn't that what you asked? I'm just trying to give the people what they want. You must be even denser than the rest.
Thank you. That's kind of you to say. How would you say this has affected your daily life?
Well, you don't know it, but I'm not a good person, plain and simple. I don't feel any accountability for my actions. I can't get hurt, and nobody ever thinks badly of me no matter what I do. I've spent most of my life insulting and assaulting people on a daily basis, and it never catches up with me. Here's an example, so maybe some of this gets through to your little brain. The day that your MTFs captured me, I had punched a man in the face, stolen 2 cups of coffee, taken a lollipop from a child, pulled a man's pants down, painted a street artist's face, and eaten a couple's picnic. It was all in plain sight, and nobody found any fault with me for it. That's what my average day is like, Doc. I'll just spell it out for you in case you haven't caught on by now. Basically, whenever I speak or do anything, my words and my actions aren't what they perceive. The version of me that everyone else sees and hears is reasonable, kind, and, in a nutshell, not at all like me. I have no idea what they're hearing when I talk or what they're seeing when I do things. I imagine nobody knows when I've hit them or insulted them. And because of that, I gotten really used to doing it. It really makes life a lot easier, especially when you have to cope with being ignored everywhere you go. Even this idiot, he pretends to be interested in me, he says he wants to learn about me, but he has no idea who I am because he sees an imposter when he looks at me. This really is a ridiculous mockery of what I am. I might kill this guy just for insulting me once I've gotten bored of this charade. That enough for you, Doc?
Yes, thank you. It was a bit vague, but we can revisit that to get more specifics later. Now, we have some questions about your upbringing. Do you believe any environmental factors could have contributed to this ability?
It's very, very unlikely, though if they did, they'd be really hard to pin down. I've experienced so much, Doc. You'd be so jealous. I ran away from home when I was 10. I went cliff diving in Indonesia when I was 12. I robbed my first bank when I was 14. Yeah, you heard me right, my first bank. There have been dozens since then. I talked my way into driving in a rally race when I was 15. I caused a mass wreck on the track, and that was when I saw a person burn to death for the first time. I traveled with Skrillex on his world tour in 2014. I've walked around a Navy battleship in plain clothes, and not a single person questioned me. I've caused more than a couple prison breaks. In fact, those will look like complete jokes once I'm done with this place. It's a shame you guys only know about my inability to be harmed. You have no idea who you're dealing with, Doc.
Interesting. Would you say that your family caused those events to happen?
Oh, good one. That almost made sense. I'll give you another point for that, Doc. To answer your question, I actually do think my family contributed to all that, yes. After my brother tried to kill me, I became ruthless to him, and my parents never disciplined me. Even he didn't seem to understand what I was saying or doing, and slowly I started to learn. I was invisible, always had been. So I started my habit of petty theft much earlier than most kids, and after a couple years, I realized I could do just fine without them. I would say the rest is history, but I'm the only one who knows the truth behind any of my adventures, so that doesn't really apply.
I see. Do you have any specific examples?
You really like the details, don't you? I assume you're still talking about my family. Well, let me think for a moment. There must be something.
I think I'm gonna leave, Marty. You could come if you want. I know how to get food and stuff. It could be fun.
You know, I wish you weren't such a goody-goody. The only reason Mom and Dad are hard on me is cause you're their little angel.
Well, maybe I'll just leave on my own then.
You know that one thing that happened a few years ago? I only did it cause I'm supposed to be the special one. I'm much older. You're just a kid. Why do they think you're so special?
What's wrong with you? You don't have anything to be jealous of. They don't even know anything about me. Even you don't know me. You just ignore me all the time.
Yeah, okay. I know it was wrong. Obviously, I'm glad you survived. You're still my little bro. I'm just saying, you're the younger one, but I'm always in your shadow somehow.
Nah, I wouldn't say there are specific reasons why I left.
Thank you. There's one more topic we wanted to cover. Considering your significant difference from most people, would you say that you feel a separation from the rest of humanity?
Okay, you want to dig deep now. I find that question weird considering you have no idea just how different I am from the rest of you, but let's consider this. It seems to be an important question. I'm a man, sure, but I'm essentially invincible. I'm ignored by every person I meet, and I can manipulate electric systems. Sorry, I forgot to mention that part. Hopefully that explains the prison breaks. It's one thing to smooth talk people, but when you can control automatic locks and such, now that's some real power. I'm not really being kept here against my will, just you wait. Back to your question, Doc. I'm still just a man. I've got flaws like anyone else. If I felt any kind of connection with the rest of humanity, I wouldn't treat them the way I do. But I'm ultimately alone, and everything I do, good or bad, is only to make life easier for me. And it's a hard, lonely life, Doc. I've never had a real human connection. I'm not even sure I'd recognize it if I did have one. And beyond that, everything that defines your existence is completely foreign to me. I've never worked a day in my life. I have no idea what love is. I don't fear death. In fact, I'd say I'm looking forward to the day I find a way to kill myself. My moral compass is essentially non-existent. So yes, I'd say I'm very separate from the rest of humanity. I'm not sure if I'd even call myself human at all.
That's interesting. I'll make a note of that. One more question, and I'd appreciate your honesty here. Have you taken advantage of your abilities and harmed anyone purposefully, knowing that you couldn't be injured?
Oh, Doc, you have no idea. It's not just the lack of physical risk involved. There's no sense of regret whatsoever. Once I locked a guy in a cage for a week just because I thought he could understand me. I fed him and gave him a bucket. He was fine. It turned out he was just deaf, so he'd stare at me and try to make out what I was saying. Even that little bit of attention made me want to imprison the guy, just so I'd have someone around who I could talk to. But Doc, I'll just be honest with you, this one-sided conversation is getting less and less entertaining with each question you ask. That means I'll be leaving soon, and there's a good chance you'll be killed in the pandemonium.
All personnel, be advised that it appears we are experiencing a site-wide containment breach. Available guards and all on-site MTFs are to report to the armory immediately. Other staff are to shelter in place. Repeat, we are experiencing a site-wide containment breach. If you are not trained for combat, you are hereby ordered to shelter in place until further notice.
Oh God, this isn't good. There's a Keter at this site, and it's not that far from here.
Thank God. It's so good to hear you say something that makes sense, Doc. I wish I could share in the fear you're feeling. It must be so intense knowing that you might die at any moment. It's been good talking to you, Tim. This was helpful, in some manner of speaking. I hadn't thought about my brother in a very long time. I might pay him a visit, see where he is in life, find out if he even recognizes me. Well, goodbye then.
Of course I'm worried. I might be seasoned around here, but any researcher is humbled when they know they're dealing with something truly dangerous.
It's a shame you didn't know then. Good luck, Tim.
Wait, don't open that! Come back and sit down! You have to shelter in place too!
So I hope now you understand. There's something about causing chaos, death, and destruction that soothes a lonely soul. Through it all, you'll be watching, won't you? I hope you won't abandon me. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? The only ones who are guaranteed to always be there for you when the real world fails you at every turn are your imaginary friends, watching your life play out as if on TV. And what a show it'll be.
Thanks for watching the video. Also, thanks to TheRubber for being featured in today's episode. He's an awesome YouTuber that makes SCP-related content as well. You can check out a link to his channel in the description below. If you want to help support SCP Animated, consider pledging to our Patreon page like all these great people here on screen. These wonderful people are our highest donors. A special thanks to Martin, Vladimir, Rio, Pumpkin Pyromaniac, Monday, Scorpion, and Catalyst Cat Sparkles. Last but certainly not least, check out our merch store. We got all sorts of SCP-related gear there, including our Tickle Monster plushies. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you all next week.